Hey guys, it is Thursday, July 11th, and it is 10:30, and Bitcoin is at just below 58,000. And two things. First of all, as a reminder, we are still in a bull market. Germany sold $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin in a week. We have the fear of Mt. Gox. We've been down from 65,000 all the way down to 53,000, and now we're up 10% off the bottom. This is normal bull market correction. We're in a bull market. First point. Second point is we've had an inflation reading that's very low right now. So chances of the Fed cutting by September are very high. There's even some chance that they cut in 2 weeks. So also very bullish. I think with a Trump victory, we're going to absolutely see massive rate cuts. So extremely bullish. Now, this episode, I want to focus on this idea that kind of came to me with a conversation with a very good friend of mine who has on the Twitter handle Futurenomics, and a very smart guy, also Stanford. Futurenomics said, well, Bitcoin is really kind of the only asset that we could be guaranteed that's not going to lose its value in 100 years. And I kind of went back to him and I said, well, how about 20 years? And he's like, well, the S&P 500 will be good for 20 years. And I said, well, you could have said the same thing about the Nikkei in 1987, right? It seemed pretty unstoppable. But guess what? 1990 was the beginning of the Japanese bear market, which pretty much has lasted like 20 years. And only now we're at the same level, roughly, as Japan was in 1990. So you can't get too comfortable with any one country. And really that led me to this real aha moment where I said, well, every single investment that you make, whether it's bonds, stocks, or real estate, you have country risk. You could get invaded like France did in World War II, or you could get taken over by a very left-wing government like France did in a week ago, where they're now talking about 90% wealth tax on assets in France. So, if you own, or 90% income tax, but possibly even bringing back wealth tax in France. So if you own real estate in France or you own French stocks, not so great, right? So if you're in the U.S., you say, great, I'm great. Except what about if they start doing wealth tax on the U.S., tax on unrealized assets? You always have country risk with all these assets. Now, what asset does not have country risk? Well, gold, to some extent, does not have country risk, but you still have the problem of getting your gold out of the country. And if you ever brought in gold to the U.S., which I've brought in gold bars from France to the U.S., it's not as easy as just putting them in your hand luggage. You have to declare them. You have to be willing to ask certain questions, answer certain questions, etc. If it's a lot of gold, you got a lot of questions to ask, and you're probably not going to put them in your hand luggage. You're probably not going to put $1 million worth of gold in your hand luggage, although you might. It's not illegal to do it, but it might be really hard getting $1 million of gold out of Nigeria or out of China. On the other hand, Bitcoin is really the only asset that doesn't have country risk. It really is like putting your money in the Swiss bank account in the cloud. And I really think that's a great way to think of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Switzerland in the cloud. It's just this dematerialization of money. It doesn't depend on any country. It doesn't depend on any CEO. And, it's just boom, out there in the cloud. And you're 100% guaranteed that in 100 years you come back, your Bitcoin wallet will still work. At least I think it will. You know, I don't know if Solana is going to be around in 100 years. I really do not know if Ethereum will be around in 100 years. But I have a pretty strong feeling Bitcoin will. I won't be around in 100 years, but Bitcoin will be around in 100 years. So that's my deep thought for today. And, yeah, I think we're in a bull market. Thanks, guys.